So, Feast of Tabernacles. Let me discuss that for a moment. The Jews celebrate once a year for 8 days the deliverance out of Egypt and then traveling through the wilderness and going to the promised land. And while they were traveling in the wilderness, they lived in tents and little huts temporarily. And the Feast of Tabernacles is it's like Thanksgiving in a lot of ways, thanking God for getting them out of Egypt and being with them, supplying their need, and taking them to the promised land. So they give thanks for the previous year and for God supplying rain and fruit and life, and they pray for the coming year. So it's the most, as you see my notes there, it's the most joyous of the Jewish celebrations. Many Jewish people will make little huts to celebrate it, to remember that their ancestors traveled through the wilderness with God's protection. One of the verses that, and by the way, this is one of the festivals that the Jewish people will invite Gentiles to join in this celebration. So, John 7 was the next thing in the scripture that I was preaching. I did not plan this. I was like, the Feast of Tabernacle moves among a couple of months, and I was like, I wonder when it's taking place. And guess when it's taking place? Right now, it's going on. And I was like, what a coincidence that I'm preaching on the very passage that Jesus goes to the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, on the last day of the feast, and one of the verses that they like mentioning, that they read, is about how they got a water supply in the wilderness. And so they'll read the scripture, how Moses took a staff, and what did he do? Struck the rock, and then what happened? Water came out of the rock to give them water to drink. On the last day of the festival, which is 8 days, the priest over in Israel will get a jug of water from the pool of Siloam. He'll go through the water gate, and then he will pour out that water. And it's kind of just symbolic of this event and symbolic thanking God for supplying rain for the crops last year and praying to God to supply water and rain for the coming year. So it's during this festival that Jesus shows up.